What's going on? 4:24 in the late afternoon. Glad you guys can be with me on this Thursday. It is the 25th of September. Week 4 begins tonight across the National Football League. And that means, of course, we're working towards maybe the game of the weekend. Maybe not in terms of win-loss record. Both teams enter Arrowhead, the Ravens and Chiefs, at 1-2. Only 11% that have started 1-3 since the merger back in 1970 have went on to go to the postseason. I think you guys know this by now. It's a 4:25 kickoff. CBS A team, that's Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and of course Tracy Wolfson on the sidelines. I'll have pregame and postgame coverage. As always, pregame will be on the Bobby Baltimore channel. Postgame will be with Sarah inside the vault. Here's what I got coming up for you over the course of the next hour or so. Much needed good. That's right, good. Much needed good injury news as it relates to the Ravens defense. Kyle Hamilton pushes back against plenty of criticism hurled at Zach Orr, second-year defensive coordinator. Chris Jones talks a little bit about both Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Of course, he is Kansas City's successful game wrecker, future Hall of Famer that's still playing at a very high level. Steve Spagnuolo, their defensive coordinator, weighs in on this upcoming matchup. And, of course, Zach Orr addresses a lot of this head on. All of that and more is what I have coming up. If you could on the way in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. If you haven't already done so, you can consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. Predictions are starting to weigh in as well, so you can do that. And please feel free to pop in. This Ravens-Chiefs series history over the years certainly has been in favor of Kansas City. Regular season all time, they own that record. 8-4 against the Ravens, and since John Harbaugh showed up in 2008, they're 5-3, including a 5-2 overall record in Baltimore all time. In the postseason, since 2008, 1-1. That's all time, 1-1, and we know that lone victory that Kansas City has gotten against the Ravens, you got to go back to the 2023 AFC Championship game, and we all remember what's happened the last 2 times out. Ultimately, this has been a Ravens defense that's played well enough to win in back-to-back games, both in Week 1 last year and in that AFC Championship game. But they're 0-2 the last time, and the last 2 times out, I should say, against these Kansas City Chiefs. With all that said, certainly not stopping folks across NFL Network from picking against them or picking them. Take a look. Daniel Jeremiah, Colleen Wolfe, Adam Rank, Bucky Brooks, Maurice Jones-Drew, so on and so forth. This entire panel, aside from Bucky, has the Ravens taking down the Kansas City Chiefs. We've seen that a time or two this year. So if you're superstitious, probably look away. But these are your predictions, all of which are somewhere in that high 20, early 30 mark. Close games. Nobody has a blowout. And I certainly won't. Sarah and I will give you our predictions coming up in tomorrow's show. But this is something else. And the fact that one of these 2 teams will slip to 1-3 feels sort of unbelievable. But that is the reality of where they stand right now. Statistically speaking, we've gone over this a couple times, but just in case you haven't been paying attention, Kansas City looks as pedestrian as it ever has in recent years throughout this dynasty with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Steve Spagnuolo, so on and so forth. Statistically speaking, they're the 11th overall ranked defense. They're 18th against the run, 10th against the pass, 9th in scoring, 9th on third down, 6th on fourth down, and 15th in the red zone. Of course, it's only a 3-game sample size, so how much can you really learn? Offensively is where they've really struggled this year. No Rashee Rice, no Xavier Worthy for the last couple games. Sure looks like Xavier is going to have a chance to go based on his practice designation. He was limited, or at least I can't remember if he was a full go or limited in yesterday's practice, but it sure looks like their speedy, talented wide receiver who gave the Ravens some problems in Week 1 last year is going to have a chance to go. No Rashee Rice, so they'll be down one of their top playmakers, if not their top playmaker outside of Patrick Mahomes coming up on Sunday. The rest of those offensive ranks, again, 17th overall, 17th on the ground, 15th through the air, 21st in scoring, 14th on third down, 7th on fourth down, and 19th in the red zone. As far as the Ravens, we know where they rank defensively, and that's why there's been so much noise. Deservedly so. They're the 32nd ranked overall total defense league-wide. 30th against the run, 31st against the pass, 31st in scoring, 24th on third down, 21st in fourth down, and 28th in the red zone. Quite frankly, it is just, simply put, not been good enough whatsoever. Zach Orr talked specifically about his run defense.
Of us not doing our job, man. So we got to play better. We got to coach better. It wasn't one particular person, one particular group. It was guys just, we were misstep or slow step in certain areas on certain plays. And when you go against a good team, and especially good running backs like that, good offensive line, they're going to make you pay. And they did that.
So was it more of a scheme or?
Run that back once more.
Combination of us not doing our job, man. So we got to play better. We got to coach better. It wasn't one particular person, one particular group. It was guys just, we were misstep or slow step in certain areas on certain plays. And when you go against a good team, and especially good running backs like that, good offensive line, they're going to make you pay. And they did that.
So Zach Orr has been under fire now, second consecutive year. This is his first year, of course, his second year as a defensive play caller in Baltimore, and somebody that has had to wear a lot of the brunt of this criticism. And he did not shy away whatsoever from making it abundantly clear just how hard he takes this underperformance to start.
First and foremost, every loss, man. Every loss, and every time we don't go out there and we feel like we don't play up to our standards, it's heartbreaking to me. Like I've always, since I was younger, my mom always told me you never take losses well, and I still don't. But I understand now as I get older, you got to move forward. The loss definitely stung Monday night into Tuesday morning. But like I said, it's a week-to-week league. I've been around. I understand that you got to move forward and you got to put that behind you. And as far as blocking out distractions, a lot of stuff that you guys are telling me, I had no idea about because I'm not on social media. I'm just blocked off from all the noise out there, man, and that's good. I think that when you can do that and you don't listen to, you can really focus in on what's important and what you got to get done. Because if you listen to that and you pay attention to that, it can definitely affect you with your job and just in your regular life. So I just block out the noise, man. Focusing on football, that's what we talk about here, and just focusing on getting better.
Zach is genuinely a good person. I really, really enjoy him, and I think he relates to the players. He's got a fantastic story as a former undrafted rookie that built himself up to all-pro level. Unfortunately, that brutal injury, that neck-related injury, ended his career far too soon. And when you look at some of the players that are still around from his generation, he could still be playing had he stayed healthy. I think all of that can be said, and at the same time, some of the criticism that's been going around, some of the genuine criticism, meaning some of the fair criticism, to me, it's not below the belt. It's not, as Kyle Hamilton just noted a little while ago, unfair. Now, is there multiple levels of blame to go around? Like, is Zach supposed to be the sole scapegoat of all this? Of course not. There is blame to go around, both from a personnel standpoint and within the staff, particularly given the fact that Nnamdi Madubuike is not available right now, nor is Kyle Van Noy. Those are your best inside and outside players, respectively, for my money. And it's a different defensive front without them. Had they been in there, would it have been a different outcome on Monday night? I don't know, man. Detroit had an unbelievable game plan when it came to not only their offensive attack and their ability to run between the tackles successfully, and they certainly were successful with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, but the way they contained Lamar Jackson. They were stout, they were disciplined, and man, they had a game plan and they stuck to it. And Kelvin Shepard, their defensive coordinator, deserves a lot of credit, whether it was spying, whether it was pass rush lane integrity, gap integrity, polished as tacklers. They got it all done. And Obviously, it helps when you're able to run the football on a Ravens defense that just got gashed and missed 20 tackles. But I think you know where I'm going with this. While Zach isn't the only one to be blamed for this slow start, we're all old enough to remember what happened a year ago, and he's not above blame. Right? He shouldn't be absolved of blame, regardless of whether or not he's a second-year defensive coordinator. Kyle Hamilton, though, again, you don't have any kind of issues, right, with it may be annoying to listen to, but coaches speak is expected. And what Kyle Hamilton did today on behalf of his defensive coordinator, not only is that to be expected, but I actually respect it because he is one of your vocal defensive leaders. He's the highest paid safety in the game. He's quickly become a centerpiece of this entire organization. And Kyle Hamilton today took a stand for his defensive coordinator in a media scrum during locker room availability. This comes courtesy of ESPN's Jamison Hensley.
It's whatever criticism he's getting. I don't know. I feel like sometimes Ravens fans can be a little spoiled, just like the amount of success that this franchise has had. We lose 5 games and the world's about to end. I think on Zach, it's unfair to put all the blame on him when there's 11 guys out there on the field that are playing their hearts off, and he's put us in the right positions. It's just a matter of us doing the right stuff, and that's where I feel like the critiques of Zach or whatever coaches are unfair because he can't go out there and play for us. And as much as he wants to, he can't. So it's up to us to go out and get the job done. So it's not a Zach thing. It's not a coaching thing on the defensive side of the ball. It's just players got to get the stuff right.
Look, you can put your fandom hat on all you want. You can look at this with anger. You can look at this with frustration. That's what a leader does. Kyle Hamilton doing exactly what any defensive leader would do, any leader in general, not just in the NFL, but across all of professional sports. What do you want him to get up there and say? Torch his defensive coordinator? No, he's taking accountability just as he did Monday night, specifically about his lack of polish when it came to tackling and the overall defense. That's what you want from one of your team captains. Quote, I feel like sometimes Ravens fans, and maybe this is where you guys take it on the chin a little bit, take it personally. Quote, I feel like sometimes Ravens fans can be a little spoiled, just like the amount of success that this franchise has had. We lose 5 games and the world is about to end. I think on Zach, it's unfair to put all the blame on him. That's not absolving him from start to finish. It's all the blame shouldn't be placed on Zach Orr. And I agree with that. Should some of the blame? Of course. Quote, we've got to prove ourselves every week in this league, and we didn't do a good job last week, but we got another week this week, and it's a big game. It's a big opportunity for us. The sky's not falling, so we'll be all right. And whether or not you believe him, doesn't really matter. That's what you want from a guy that's quickly risen the ranks to leadership, quickly risen the ranks to being a cornerstone of this franchise. A former Raven, Michael Pierce, caught up with friend of the show, Samuel Njoku from Ravens Talk Pod. I know he's also doing some stuff with Locked On Ravens these days as well. Great to have Sam in this community space. He caught up with Michael Pierce and Big MP, who was legend of the game on Monday night in Baltimore. He had this to say about what he watched that night from the press box.
Defense hasn't been up to snuff, and you are known for your run defense. Now, the Ravens haven't had quite the exceptional play they had last year, but even when you guys were dominating in the run defense, I noticed when you were on the field as opposed to when you were not. Talk about what's going on with this Ravens defense and their struggles. Do you see some hope on the horizon? Is it a little too much, overanalyzing considering it's week 3? I want to get your thoughts.
So I would relate it to, our pass defense struggled mightily for maybe 7-8 weeks last year. And then it kind of evened out. So I would like to believe the same with the run game. Obviously, we got, new pieces like John Jenkins. We're going to have a lot of people just step up really, especially in the absence of Metabike. But we got to get Trenton Simpson going. We got to get, I don't want to mispronounce his name. His last name Buchanan?
Yeah, Teddy Buchanan. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, run defense is never really about one person. You obviously can have people who stand out in certain areas, but it's really just about that front seven meshing and gelling together. We had a few injuries. Obviously, like I said, Metabike is a big part in that. But I also think we got to look at, like, I saw a couple clips of this dude on Instagram. I forget his name at the moment. He was oddly enough talking about Penei Sewell. But what I realized also was, obviously not to be overly critical, our personnel was not proper to be on the 1 yard line. So unless they get no huddle or anything like that, I don't know the game plan. I'm not sitting there in the film, but like I said, from me sitting up in the press box on Monday night, it just looked like we probably could have matched personnels a little differently. When they went two tight ends, that's a heavier formation. Those normally lend to run tendencies and those kind of things. I think we had nickel on the field quite a bit of times, but like I said, I don't know exactly the tendency numbers and all those things that we may game plan. But I think that would have helped a little bit. But I think the numbers will definitely even out just as the season goes on. I can't see too many people running for those kind of numbers too often. Otherwise, heads may roll. But now, like I said, I definitely believe we definitely had the guys to be able to get the job done. It's just if we don't have that game in Buffalo, I don't think they would be taking it as hard. But you have those two performances, and then you start off with a slow start for a second year in a row. People start pressing that panic button and they forget we got 15 more games to play. So never know.
Love me some MP, man. Go check that out. Again, that's courtesy of Ravens Talk Pod. And you heard him there, Samuel Njoku and Michael Pierce. You heard Big MP, right? He kind of called out some of the alignment issues that he watched in the red zone. So it wasn't all good. And again, nobody's sitting here absolving Zach Orr of blame. I just caught up on some of the comments that are starting to pile up in the live chat. What do you guys want? What do you guys want Kyle Hamilton to say? Seriously. Are you upset that Kyle called you spoiled? I tend to agree in some capacity. That's not putting everybody in a box. He said some Ravens fans. I'll say some Ravens fan too, just like I'll say some people in the live chat. What do you want him to say? And I'm getting fired up. What do you want him to say? You want to get up there and torch Zach Orr? They could have done that through 10 weeks. Perhaps Eddie Jackson might have, by the way, last year. You think he was a big help to that defense? You think Marcus Williams was a big help to that defense? Ultimately, there is a perfect storm that's going on in Baltimore, and the same could be said for the first 10 weeks last year. What happened after that from weeks 11 through 18? Statistically speaking, they were one of the top defenses in all the land. They finished top 3 in overall sacks. They were rolling in terms of points allowed per game. They were getting contributions in the middle part of the field from Roquan alongside. Of course, they had the rotation going with Malik Harrison and Chris Board, right? They moved Kyle Hamilton back to where he belongs in the back end alongside Ardarius Washington. And I say he belongs. He belongs really anywhere on the field. Doesn't matter what level it is, right? So like, I don't understand. I know emotions are running high. I understand that, but I don't understand what you would want Kyle Hamilton to do differently. That I don't understand. I will open up the guest lines because emotions are running high here. Again, listen to Kyle Hamilton as I get the call-in link ready.
I think it's whatever criticism he's getting. I don't know. I feel like sometimes Ravens fans can be a little spoiled, just like the amount of success that this franchise has had. We lose 5 games and the world's about to end. I think on Zach, it's unfair to put all the blame on him when there's 11 guys out there on the field that are playing their hearts off, and he's put us in the right positions. It's just a matter of us doing the right stuff, and that's where I feel like the critiques of Zach or whatever coaches are unfair because he can't go out there and play for us. And as much as he wants to, he can't. So it's up to us to go out and get the job done. So it's not a Zach thing. It's not a coaching thing on the defensive side of the ball. It's just players got to get the stuff right.
There you go. Guest lines are open. Just drop the link in there. Quote, I feel like sometimes Ravens fans can be a little spoiled, just like the amount of success this franchise has had. We lose 5 games and the world is about to end. I think on Zach, it's unfair to put all the blame on him. Quote, we've got to prove ourselves every week in this league and didn't do a good job last week. But we got another week this week and a big game, and it's a big opportunity for us. So the sky's not falling. We'll be all right. That from Kyle Hamilton, which apparently has ruffled some feathers. The injury report just dropped. A lot of coaches speak going on the opposite side of things in Kansas City as they get ready to face this Ravens team, and in Andy Reid's case, this Ravens defense. Listen to him on not only ZO, but his entire unit.
He's a good one, so defensive coordinator. And he brings guys from all over when needed, and at the same time they play good sound defense on top of that. They've got good players. I'm sure he'll have some change-ups from what he did with us last time, which is, we'll just have to adjust to it. So, but he does a nice job with that defense. He's got a lot of flexibility there with what he can do and with the players.
Enter Patrick Mahomes.
You want to be balanced. I mean, I think every team in the NFL does, and I thought this last week we did a better job of running the ball, and I thought the offensive line did a good job of doing the run blocking together and the chemistry building between them. And I know that you saw Monday night at the Ravens, but they're a prideful group, man. I don't think they're going to be very happy with the film, and they're going to come out with the mentality of stopping the run. So it'll be a great test for us. And so it'll be able to go up there and be able to run the football and then be able to pass off of it will be important to us. Stay balanced and go up against a team that's going to be as hungry as we are. So it'll be a great football game this weekend.
I'll react to more of that in just a bit. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Profit X. It's America's #1 sports prediction market. I think you guys know the drill by now when it comes to these brand partnership opportunities. When you support them, you're supporting the show directly, and you get to win real money predicting sports in 40-plus states. And if you're wondering where, states like these that you see highlighted on the screen, whether it be Florida, New York, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, California for my West Coasters. Within the flock, I know there's some Texas flock members here. I see Taurus talking a whole lot of shit in the live chat. What else is new? He's all upset about God knows what being called spoiled, I guess. But Profit X is available in Texas. The guest lines are open, Taurus. Get your ass in here, will you? They're already flowing right now. Uncle Viz and Manny and Dre Dog, everybody popping into the waiting room. This ought to be good. But more on Profit X. You'll get better odds than traditional sports books because you're playing against others, not the house. And with Profit X, you can request your own odds, play with confidence, and get super fast payouts straight to your bank, card, or even crypto. And right now, if you sign up at profitx.co and you use the promo code that you see up on the screen, that's Bobby B, it's going to get you $200 in profit cash on all your plays for the first 30 days. Again, it'll get you up to $200 in profit cash on all your plays for the first 30 days. So go ahead, consider signing up now at profitx.co. You can start winning real money predicting sports today. And if you go to profitx.co, I'll just show you what the screen looks like, and we'll take a quick peek at the line going into Sunday at Arrowhead. And of course, this Ryder Cup week as well at Bethpage. So there's a bunch of different options there. Thursday Night Football gets underway tonight in Arizona between the Seahawks, Mike McDonald's Seattle Seahawks, and the Cardinals. But let's go ahead and take a look at the 425. Might end up being the game of the weekend. Ravens right now are 2.5-point road favorites. That's right. They are favorites on the road at Arrowhead, 2.5. The over-under is set at 48. ProfitX.co, player props, all kinds of different season-long plays available to you. Different touchdown props. Zay Flowers to score first. Derrick Henry. Pacheco is going to be a problem if this run defense shows up in the form that it was on Monday night against Detroit. Travis Kelce, does he scare you anymore? He certainly gave the Ravens fits and Kyle Hamilton the fits the last couple times these two played each other. So anyway, ProfitX.co, thanks to them for the continued support. And thanks for all of you for being here right now. Please like the video if you could. Over 500 concurrents at the moment. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. You know the drill. Let's get to the injury report that just came in. This is one that we'll be watching this one closely in the days leading up to week 4. Travis Jones is the good injury news, the much needed good injury news that I referenced in my Twitter caption is the fact that Travis Jones returned to practice. He was not available late in that fourth quarter on Monday night. He was hobbling around. He's dealing with a knee. He popped up as a DNP on Wednesday, He was limited on Thursday. And as much as his PFF grade doesn't exactly wow you from Monday night, he's somebody that is absolutely a force out there, is still a run stuffer specialist, has to be accounted for, oftentimes is doubled, and somebody that they need desperately going up against the downhill force, the brute that is Isaiah Pacheco. So a positive sign there for Travis Jones. We'll have to take a look closely at what this might mean for him over the course of the next 24 hours going into Friday before right around 24 hours from now when ultimately final designations are handed out for Sunday. Isaiah Likely's been limited all week. And again, the Ravens have spoken very optimistically about his potential return, and the fact that they didn't place him on IR to begin this season suggests that they will indeed give him a go, perhaps on somewhat of a snap count as he potentially makes his 25-26 season debut on Sunday. Nnamdi Madubuike with the neck has been a DNP all week long. He's already been ruled out according to John Harbaugh. It looks more and more ominous as we go for Nnamdi, and I wish the best for him because the neck is nothing to joke about whatsoever. Pat Ricard, same thing, really quiet on this front, has not practiced since mid-August. He continues to deal with a calf, and the Ravens' rushing attack suffers because of it. Ronnie Stanley has popped up with an ankle. He's been a DNP in back-to-back days. That's concerning, really concerning, matter of fact, because Chris Jones is gearing up for this game. He's a game wrecker. And then some. We'll be in Canton one day. And he talked about Lamar and Derrick Henry.
You see on film, fast, explosive. Any play in the game, he can change the dynamic of it. So, with him, it's always tough to play against Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens. Stopping Lamar is one thing, trying to contain him is another. And over the years, you look how prolific as a passer he's become. I think he's completing 70% of his passes, which I think he should have won MVP last year. Have so much respect for him. Derrick Henry is the same as Lamar. Change the dynamic of the game at any point in the game. You got to make sure that not only one person, when he has the ball, not only one person bringing him down, make sure we crowd around him, grabbing him, clawing him, whatever we got to do to get him down, man. I mean, you can take it both ways. It's not often Lamar is easily sacked 7 times. When I heard that stat line, I was like, well, that's crazy. Because the Ravens mostly run the ball, but Lamar can pass the ball too. So, it's the dynamic of the game. I guess they went down and try to get back in the game and throwing the ball. So I get it. It happens. It's not often, but it happens. Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs in the league, fumbles or not. And I think that's new territory for him because you look over the years, he's not a big fumbler. So I'm quite sure he's, working on it this week and the next few weeks to make sure he has the ball high and tight. But it's also as an opportunity for us to somebody grab him first. 2 people grab him first, and let's try to get the ball.
Some kind words there from Chris Jones, Kansas City's game wrecker. And let me be very clear, if Ronnie Stanley is trending towards not being available the way that this injury report suggests, there's no way that I'm picking the Ravens. To be quite honest with you, I don't even know if I can. And I know we got Mr. Loop in the chat right now. He is Mr. Optimistic, and I appreciate that. But I got to be realistic. And I'm not saying that Mr. Loop's not realistic. Don't get me wrong. All right. I'm loving the fact that Tyler is rounded out into form. Sure, he and Chris Horton are working very hard on the dynamic kickoff and the landing zone. But, man, he has been more than reliable when it comes to his place kicking. So, congrats to the entire Loop family on his transition to the NFL here 3 weeks in. But from a vantage point of being down with knowing Nnamdi Madubuike is not available, knowing that Kyle Van Noy likely trending towards not playing, knowing what this up front defensive front up against the run put forth against Detroit. And while I get it, Kansas City's offense doesn't scare you. All right, they're getting Xavier Worthy back. He's just listed as a full participant back-to-back days, so he'll be back in the lineup for them. You know how Andy Reid dials him up. They really struggled, the Ravens did in week 1 last year, and some of the underneath pass coverage assignments with Xavier and trying to defend Rasheed. Now, they won't have their two-headed monster out there. Rasheed is not available for this game, but Xavier Worthy sure looks like he will be. And if the Ravens aren't on assignment and they aren't polished in the tackling department, it could be a long night for the middle part of this defense. Roquan took a great step forward against Cleveland and then took 10 steps back against Detroit. Looked like a lot of what we saw last year, 2024 Roquan, a half step behind, right? Not as physical, not as tenacious as what we've grown accustomed to seeing since they traded for him in season back in 2022. So as I'm working my way through the injury report, I'm struck by the fact that if the Ravens are without Ronnie Stanley, what does that mean? Are they moving Roger Rosengarten over to left tackle? I don't know what that means for them. Is Carson Vincent getting the call up? And I don't say call up from the practice squad. I know he's on the 53-man roster, but is he ready to start at this point? What will they do with Joe Noteboom? So tomorrow is going to be a tell-all, man. It is going to be a tell-all based on the way this injury report shapes up. Okay, let's keep working our way through it. Again, Ronnie Stanley's been a DNP. We're getting to the guest lines in just a bit. Ronnie Stanley's been a DNP back-to-back days, as has Kyle Van Noy, not expected to go. Broderick Washington, another member of this starting defensive front, he has been a DNP. So if you've been following along, no KVN, no Nnamdi, no potentially Broderick Washington. And I don't care if this has been a Chiefs offense that's been pedestrian. I don't care. The Ravens are down. They are thin right now. The interior part of this defensive line is thin, and it was taken advantage of on Monday night against Detroit. Yes, the Lions are far superior to the Kansas City Chiefs right now, offensively speaking, personnel-wise, and execution. But I'm telling you, this is thinner than thin, and that is a problem going into a hostile environment come Sunday night. And Sunday afternoon, I should say. Okay, real quick here, just from a Kansas City perspective, just so I can put a bow on overall statuses. I'll get rid of the live chat for a second here. Yes, it's a big list, a long laundry list, if you will, for Kansas City, but there's really nothing that they're dealing with that's going to break their backs. Xavier Worthy, full participant, back-to-back days, he's good to go. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. He's dealing with a right wrist. He's good to go. So they're fully healthy aside from not having Rashee Rice, which obviously doesn't have anything to do with health. That's all field stuff. Ravens can't necessarily say the same. And we know just how desperate both of these teams are going to be come Sunday in Kansas City. With that, let's open up the guest lines. There's a lot of things that I think people want to get off their chest. Kyle Hamilton, in a sense, called out some of this fan base. Said that the Ravens fans are spoiled, given the history. Backed Zach Orr wholeheartedly. Also took accountability. Held himself accountable. 20 missed tackles as a defense. That's just not good enough. Curious to hear what you guys have to say about it in chronological order in terms of how you popped into the waiting room. Uncle Viz, you're up first. It's great to have you on, my friend. What's going on?
Yo, what's happening, Bobby? How you doing today, my boy?
Oh, man. You know what? It's funny. I went into the stream very peacefully, and now I feel like just a certain edginess to today. So I'm feeling pretty fired up right now. How about you?
Man, it's interesting. I like to hang out and chat a lot. I don't normally speak. I've been speaking a lot the past few days, but I just like to hang out and just chill. But there's a lot of mumbling that I don't fully agree with. And I do think K-Ham is actually correct because I was looking at a lot of looks that the defense be putting out over the past few days. And a lot of it is relatively good. They are putting people in the right spots. But I don't know what it is. And I think it's what the Ravens has been lacking for the past few years, even before Lamar even showed up, is there's no one on the team to hold the own players accountable. Who is going to hold Roquan Smith accountable when he watches a double team in front of him and he just walks right into it? Who's going to hold K-Ham accountable if he's running out there missing tackles? We don't have anyone to rally the troops when we get punched in the mouth. And that's the key piece that I think the Ravens need to figure out, because John Harbaugh can only do so much. Zach Orr can only do so much. But it is up to the players to kind of fill in on that missing piece. And the D-line, in terms of like depth, I think the D-line actually performed okay until that long drive. Because I believe it was Cole Jackson who put out a video on it. We did a very good job on run D until that third down pass to Laporta, and just rinse, repeat. We held them to 3 very short stops, pass, done, rinse and repeat, touchdown. I think after that, everyone's spirit got broken, and when you got no one to pick people up, it's over. Pack it up.
You know, Viz, it's interesting. You make a couple good points here. One, that drive was just backbreaking, kind of like Derrick Henry's fumble was, right, in different sides of the ball. But when you start to read the tea leaves here, have we just kind of been ignoring, in a sense, the elephant in the room? You go back to earlier this offseason, Marlon Humphrey made it clear that this team, in his estimation, from his perspective as the longest tenured defensive Raven, by the way, isn't feared the way that it once was. Whether it comes to in division, whether it comes to their defense, whether it comes to taking away the football or lack thereof of said takeaways. Then, just a week or two ago, the maturity or lack thereof criticism comes into play, which is essentially just Marlon relaying what John Harbaugh told the team. That becomes a massive ordeal. And now the noise starts to be aimed at Zach Orr when you're looking at very similar statistics, whether it's against the run, against the pass, or just straight up polish, again, lack thereof, when it comes to tackling that we saw and remember through the first 10 weeks or so of last year. Have we been ignoring the elephant in the room? Because as you start to pack this together and recount steps, maybe we should have seen this coming.
I 100% think we should have saw this coming. Like, I have faith in Zach Orr. I'm not 100% sold on Zach Orr, but I don't think he should be canned right away. Like, he did kind of get it together in the second half of the season last year, albeit there was weaker offense, but still, it's very impressive to go from bottom 1 to top 1. I still think that should take into play. But one of the reasons we were feared way back in the day is because when we got punched in the mouth, we had the ability to gather ourselves up and punch right back. We had the ability to, like, okay, we're getting knocked around. Let's go ahead, get a pick, fumble, whatever it is, or just knock a dude out the game. You know, he comes back next week, but we're good enough to just knock him out the game and let people know, like, we're still the Baltimore Ravens. We still got power. But we don't have that power no more. The scheme is there. The individual talent is there. But there's no one to actually lead the ship. Roquan Smith, I love Ro. I do think he's a talented player. But he's not a leader. He's like Patrick Queen. I personally was a big fan of Patrick Queen, but he's not a leader. He can't be the middle linebacker 1. He needs someone to guide the ship for him, and then he can pop off like that. That's why he was so successful a couple of years ago when he was paired up with Roquan Smith. Now it's just Roquan Smith by himself. Turns out he's not that a leader either. K-Ham, not really that leader as well. The only person we got is KVN, but he's very soft-spoken as well. So who do we have to let people know that the Ravens are dogs? And we got to get out there and remind people that we were called the Baltimore Bullies for a reason.
You know, Viz, the hard truth here might be, and the hard question to ask is, who is Roquan Smith without Patrick Queen?
I think Roquan Smith without Patrick Queen, if I had to give it like S tier's top and obviously F tier's bottom, I think he would be an A tier linebacker. Like, he's still top 3 in the league. That cannot be denied. But when he didn't have Patrick Queen, who was, as much people like to dog on a PQ, he's better than Malik Harrison. He's better than Buchanan. Everyone else that we've had in that spot, he was miles better than all of them. And I think when you have a talent like Roquan Smith without at least a halfway decent running mate, like, he can only do so much. But without PQ, he's definitely fallen from that S tier to like a low A, and he's kind of falling down to B tier now because he's not consistent. He popped off against the Browns. He played like an actual Raven. He was everywhere. He was hitting people hard. He was playing smart. And then suddenly in the Lions, he's like, I'm not really going to be doing much here.
Viz, thanks for the call, dude. I do think that he was a little bit hard for my liking when it comes to some of his comments on Roquan's leadership. I don't know if he'll find a bigger leader on this team when it comes to the vocals, backing up said vocals most of the time than Roquan Smith. It was just a week ago that we were saying, man, that guy's got his pep back in his step. And then, of course, doesn't put the greatest tape ever out there on display in front of a national audience on Monday night. I'll show you what true leadership looks like.
Pissed off, mad at myself. I'm my worst critic, so, I don't try to harp on it too much. I talk to my family, the people that, I get advice from, my teammates, lean on them. But at the same time, it's a problem that got to get fixed. So, I'm working on it. I'm working as hard as I can, to, let this issue be resolved. And, it's tough right now, just the consecutive weeks, back to back, which is crazy. So y'all saw me in distraught because I was just like, can't believe this happened for a third time. But just gotta go back to work and, push forward. Even though it's hard, can't nobody fix it but yourself. So, I gotta accept it like a man. Everything that comes with it, I accept because it's my responsibility to take care of the ball for this organization. Maybe it's just something God want to put me through, and maybe He's testing my faith right now, and just got to keep believing and keep working. Like I told my family the other day, those tables turn, and I just ain't turn my way, but when they do, I'll be ready. It's just tough because, the situation that, is how it's happening. They got Buffalo and Cleveland, by the grace of God, we recovered that, but it was early in the game, and then, that one happened late in the game, and, critical situation. So just a situation that is happening, and it's just like, I feel like I'm letting my teammates down, which I don't want to do, and, everybody knows it's not happening on purpose, but it's a problem that got to get fixed, and I'm going to go out there and work every day to make sure that the problem is resolved. But at the same time, it's still tough because, it was just 2 days ago. Definitely, as a running back, going to hold the ball high and tight. It's embarrassing for me to be talking about this because I'm having this issue, but, you got to hold the ball high and tight, keep away from the defense, keep away from the defender. So you keep the ball, and, we have a thing we call Raven Claw around here to, have another arm around it to keep it protected and keep from defense from getting to it. And, I just got to keep doing that in practice and let it transition to the game. But just know I'm working. And it's rough right now, but it's going to come back around, I promise you.
That's leadership to me. And again, I think what Kyle Hamilton did today is leadership. I get that in some of your minds, being called spoiled doesn't exactly sit well, and it may not go over well within this fan base. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe Kyle ends up clarifying it, and if this thing blows up the way that it appears to be right now, at least in the Twitter sphere. But to me, that's leadership right there. That's somebody that, for whatever reason, has had to bear the brunt of this coming in bunches, right? Shortcomings, very seldom throughout Derrick Henry's career, by the way, has come in bunches to start off this season. 3 fumbles in 3 games. Guys, he had 3 combined and over 600 touches in 23 and 24, his last year in Tennessee, his first year in Baltimore a season ago. So if there's anybody that can right his wrongs, it's Derrick Henry, and I believe he will. As far as this defense is concerned, it feels a little bit different than it did a year ago. Because last year it was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and demote Marcus Williams and then eventually bench and part ways with Eddie Jackson, move Kyle Hamilton to the back end, ask more of our Darius Washington, and go from there. Demote Trenton Simpson, lean on a couple of veterans, Malik Harrison and Chris Board, and go from there. get a bunch of different by committee contributions up front and go from there. Like this year, it's, well, how do you go from there if you don't have the horses? A lot of uncertainty currently with Nnamdi Madubuike's status moving forward. A lot of leaning, if you will, on rookies moving forward. Whether it's Mike Green up front, Teddy Buchanan in the middle, and or Malachi Starks on the back end, who had some forgettable plays, as you would expect from a rookie that's drinking from the fire hose on Monday night against a team that's probably got a darn good chance to be the NFC representative. This is a difficult situation for the Ravens defense to be in, and I don't know if the solution is as obvious as it was a year ago, which raises the stakes as we approach the 5-week countdown to the November 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern trade deadline. Back to the guest lines we go. Couple super chats in the meantime. Dreams, what's up, Quion? He says, you would think someone who played the linebacker position that Zio would be better at play calling. I would like to see him in the press box, not the field. Donovan Carter, Harbaugh's the real-life version of Ash Ketchum with none of the plot armor. This ain't an anime. You don't win championships by simply believing you will. Donovan, thanks for the super chat. Dreams, thanks for the super chat. Let's go back to the guest lines. Taking your reaction on a number of different levels today, whether it's Kyle Hamilton's comments, whether it's where the Ravens stand right now as a run defense, as an overall unit, entering not a must-win game, but a game in which both teams will absolutely be desperate. Wes, great to have you back, my friend. What's on your mind today?
What's up, man? Well, starting off with the Kyle Hamilton, that was the first time I've heard his interview with the locker room. It doesn't sit well with me, but it doesn't piss me off. Like, I don't know what else what do you expect a defensive player to say about his defensive coordinator, right? I would say calling out a fan base in the NFL isn't the wise move. Like, there's ways he could have said that. Like, you don't come after your own fan base that is loyal to you. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. We're spoiled. I think, we have been, but don't, call it out like that. And especially, it almost comes off like, don't gaslight me into thinking that the defense isn't really a problem or we're making too much of it, because it's a big problem. So that's really all I have to say about Kyle Hamilton. As far as the defense goes, and we keep harping on it, I feel like this last week was really showing us what Zach Orr will be this year. You could say that week 1 was an anomaly because we rebounded in week 2. Week 3, we're back to where we were in week 1. We're back to where we were in the first half of last year. And then you can say last year, well, they did get fixed, but that wasn't until you benched Marcus Williams and you elevated Ardarius and you brought in an adult in Dean Pease, right? And we're still having the same issues. So I can't look at the defense and say that it's anything other than, obviously the players have to make plays, but I don't know. I don't know about anybody else, but I can't look at it and say from 2024 to 2025, much has really changed. Obviously personnel has, but the results haven't. And it solely comes back to the players, or mostly comes back to the players in execution. When go back 2 years ago, Mike Mack had the same players, more or less, the mainstays in the defense, and didn't have these issues. So I think it's 100% fair to say that Zach Orr is a problem, while also, I think it's fine to say Kyle, saying that players have to execute. I get that, but don't gaslight us into thinking that the coordinator is not the big issue here.
Thanks for the call, brother. Catch up with you. Taking your reactions, guys, today on Kyle Hamilton's comments here shortly. A short while ago, I should say. Of course, got everybody running hot, both in the live chat and within the Twitter sphere. Donovan Carter, I think, is one of them. He says Zach Orr is garbage. That unit should be at least average. We are bottom of the barrel, Bobby. Get Zach out of Baltimore. Why is Green in coverage? Why? Yeah, I didn't understand why. I also didn't understand why Marlon Humphrey was the weak side linebacker in the red zone. Zach addressed that, by the way, during his press conference today and said that was indeed the proper alignment for what he called. I don't know why. He has to obviously answer for that. But Donovan, I got to push back against this, dude. Okay, tell me why they should be average. Why should this unit be average, knowing what they have and don't have up front right now, knowing that there are 3 rookies playing significant amounts of playing time, and knowing what they're dealing with as a whole right now defensively? Why should they be average? I'd like to know. Back to the guest lines we go. Jewel, talk to me. Where's your head at?
Oh man, Bobby, it's a lot going on. I was in the live chat talking with Taurus and the guy Dre. Here's my 2 cents on it. I'm pretty sure you've read my comments and all that. So
I actually haven't seen anything you've been doing. I know that Taurus is running his mouth and he popped into live chat and now it's nowhere to be found. That's about all I know. So hopefully he'll find the link again because I ain't sending it in the live chat again. So go ahead, Jewel. The time is yours.
All right. Well, you know how Taurus is. He says what's on his mind. But anyway, as far as what Kyle Hamilton said, I mean, look, I'm gonna just put it like this: us fans have invested time and money in this team for years. All we want is to see a good football team. That's it. If we gonna call out the bullshit play, we gonna call it out. That's just simple how it is. You know what I'm saying? And I said something in the chat that ever since the 2012 Super Bowl season, we wasted so many years after that. So many years of like coming up short, whether it's an injury season of 2015, whether it's been like, the almost Flacco years after that, and then some sort of the Lamar years in between that now and currently, we're restless. We just want to win a team. That's all. It's nothing about us being spoiled or none of that. We just call out the crap that's going on right now, and that's just how it is. It's nothing about us being spoiled. It's just holding these guys accountable. We invest all our time and energy in this team. We could be doing other things, but we want to watch this team be great. And that's just how it is. That's my take on it. That's how I feel
Hey,
about
I
it.
think that's really fair. You're restless. You're restless is how you described it. And I think that's super fair. This window is temporary, whether it's Lamar's prime, whether it's the way this roster is currently constructed with 2 Hall of Famers on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's the open window of opportunity right now in the AFC North, the most watered down that division's ever been in recent years throughout this Lamar era, whether it be you could go on and on and on in terms of why the window is temporary, and I get it. The restlessness is real.
It's there.
And it's palpable and it's felt and it's a universal feeling, I would imagine. And so when you do hear the word spoiled, knowing the type of commitment, whether it's a monetary commitment, your timing commitment, or anything in between, it strikes a nerve. I respect that. I do.
Yeah.
I appreciate you weighing in on it. Share a final thought before we keep the lines going.
Yeah. I was just gonna piggyback. We just see like other teams like the Patriots have gone on to win their Super Bowls. We've seen the Eagles going on to win their Super Bowls. Chiefs, all these other teams that came after us since the 2012 season. We want a piece of that. We should be winning more championships. That's just how we feel. I mean, maybe it's just being greedy, but whatever. I mean, that's the model of excellency the Ravens have built for these last 30 years, and we expect to win every year and not come up short. I mean, that's just how we are, and that's just all I gotta say about that. We're not spoiled. We expect greatness out of this team every year. That's just how it is.
Appreciate you,
That's
brother.
all.
Well said, Jewel. We'll talk soon, my man. Let's keep the guest lines going on this Thursday. Over 600 concurrents right now. Guest lines are popping. Richard's been on hold for a while. I know you have as well, Manny. Dre's in the building. A lot of people want to weigh in on Kyle Hamilton's comments on where things are at right now in the injury department. Richard, a.k.a. Wingman, let's keep it to football as much as I want to talk about our after-hours shenanigans. Your thoughts on all of this today?
So, I mean, K-Ham, I don't really care what he says. I mean, he's saying what he's supposed to say as a player. The fans are going to react the way they're going to react. That's not a problem. I have a lot of things to say. I'm going to try to make it concise. But I think for me, the biggest frustration is the fact that we're seeing the same shit different year. So every single year, last year, the Ravens had me believing with their win streak that, we're going to make some damage in the playoffs. Then we get our asses kicked by the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was a wake-up call. But then we're like, we just win the rest of the games of the year. We'll be fine. Then we beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're a wild card team. They're not a Super Bowl team. And then we get our asses kicked by the Bills prior year. Same thing. We beat who is it? The Houston Texans, not a Super Bowl team. Then we get our asses kicked by the Kansas City Chiefs. And I will say this, it's going to happen again this year if under John Harbaugh, because in my personal opinion, John Harbaugh panics. He's been panicking. He panicked when we were in 2019 when we're playing against the Tennessee Titans with the play calling that we had with who was it at the time? Was that Giro? Or was that Mark? I don't know. Morning Wig. I forgot who it was. But whoever it was
again.
For 2019, our OC was that Morning Wig or was that Giro?
Correct.
It was Morning Wig
in 2018.
19.
2019
when we lost against the Titans.
2019 was Giro the whole year, his first year.
Okay. So my point stands is that we panic. 2019 we panicked, and then the following year Lamar's out. Next year after that Lamar's out, and then we go and play against Kansas City, and then they panic, and with the game plan they lose. They can't in game adjust. I would say last year's game we lost because they panicked. I saw a lot of really reckless plays when it was snowing, blizzard-like conditions, and they panicked when they're playing the Bills 2 weeks ago. They panicked when they played the Lions. And so I think the frustration is that we only have so many litmus tests within our schedule. And so far, we've looked like pussies in the past litmus tests we've had. Like, we look like we get punched in the mouth and we're scared to fight back. And that doesn't sit right with me. I'm used to every Ravens fan here who's been here for a while is used to a certain standard. We're not going to get back to Ray Lewis days. We're not going to get back to Edwin days. But we're used to being the underdog, being the black horse, getting punched in the mouth and punching back harder. We're used to that. We're not seeing that anymore. I would blame John Harbaugh. So for this year, I would say we don't have many litmus tests left. I mean, the Chiefs, I don't know if I call them a litmus test. I don't even know if they're going to win their own division. They may end up being a wild card team. And then the teams after that, maybe Green Bay, but Green Bay lost to the Cleveland Browns this past week. And then maybe, I can't even think about any other team for the rest of the year.
Oh no, you're right. It's Green Bay and it's Kansas City. And
like
then
those,
it's
that's
like a
it.
war. Here's what it is. It's Kansas City, it's Green Bay, and then it's a combination of things down the stretch, which is essentially AFC North backloaded games, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, look, I already said the division is the worst it's been probably throughout the entire Lamar era. So take that with a grain of salt. But the fact that the schedule is backloaded the way that it is, knowing that Green Bay is in week 17 and you play 1, 2, 3, 4 division games from 13 to 18, then that's like your third litmus test. But again, it's the state of the division doesn't make it. I get what you're saying. It's Kansas City and Green Bay for the most part. And so ultimately that next litmus test will be in January, whoever they end up facing.
I don't know if I would call the wild card the litmus test. It'll be the one after that, where I think we'll have to play the Buffalo Bills again in the divisional round in the snow in Buffalo. We're probably going to lose that game again. So I think that's huh?
If they're in the postseason.
Yeah, that is if they're in the postseason. So I mean, if they're not in the postseason, I would love to see John Harbaugh leave, but I mean, I don't see it, and then how many more years are we going to waste with Lamar? Because without Lamar, I was saying it in the chat over here in StreamYard, we would be the Cleveland Browns without Lamar. I'm saying that right now.
Look, if they don't make the playoffs, it's time for a change. If they go one and done and they lose in similar fashion, probably time for a change. If they make a deep run, go to an AFC championship game, and it just simply comes down to whoever touches the ball last, you going to fire John Harbaugh after that?
I highly doubt we're going to get there, but we'll see.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, brother. Great stuff.
Yep.
Hope you're doing well. We got to catch up soon. Guest lines are popping today. Manny's been waiting for a long time. Let's keep it to only football-related items. And your thoughts on today's commentary?
I think Kyle Hamilton showcases his age with that comment because he doesn't remember. He hasn't gone through the history of the Ravens. It's like after 2000 on that Super Bowl that we literally demolished the Giants. It was literally wow. What Pittsburgh is going through, we were going through. You know, that quarterback carousel that we couldn't sustain. We had no offense. Our defense, it performed at a high tier level, but you cannot rely on the defense as well because injuries started piling up in key players. And even though we get to the postseason, it was just either one and done or go to the divisional, and that's it. You know, before Flacco, before Harbaugh. But even so, even before the 2012 Super Bowl, how were we? We were not spoiled, like he said. Yes, we were winning, but we were still okay, it's time for the offense. Let's see what Skip Bayless called him, Fluco would produce in the regular season. Yeah, because he was Joe Fluco in the regular season. But every time we went to the postseason, somehow magically, Flacco turned into an elite quarterback. So, yes, we had a magical run 2012. But
I think what's happening here, this is going to be blown up. I imagine Kyle's going to address this at some point in the next couple of days because of the way that this is taking new life. And I'm sure he will go in and clarify and make sure that, all is well in the world of fan base reactions to him and the way that they view him after these comments. But my interpretation of them is solely from a defensive standpoint, that the organization has been blessed with Hall of Famers on that side of both sides of the ball, but on that side of the ball in particular. And when the defense isn't up to snuff, and look, I am not absolving anything within the organization of blame when it comes to what they've fielded throughout the last couple of years defensively, because it's been below standard, it's been unacceptable, and really, in recent weeks, it's been downright amateur. That's what we watched Monday night on all three levels. I don't think we had ever seen a beatdown like that, maybe since the 2019 divisional round game when the Titans came into Baltimore and handed it to them.
Worse. This is worse than 2019.
That's what I said. That's what I said on today's show. I said, I don't think I had seen a loss to that significance when it comes to not competing per se, but I'm talking about the physicality, being outmanned, outperformed, whether it was in the trenches, whatever it was on both sides of the football. I hadn't seen that since in January of 2020 when Tennessee came in and handed it to them. And that final score was not indicative of just how much of a beatdown it was, because once the Ravens were out, once the game was out of reach, they started hurling it all over the yard in the second half. Okay?
Yeah.
So yes, this probably was the most lopsided, even though the score doesn't indicate that. This was probably the most lopsided loss in Lamar's era here in Baltimore.
And you know what it is? It was, we were preaching it on the last week before the game. What we were going to do to the Lions, supposedly, belt to ass. I think that was reversed. It's like we got the belt. Yeah. And it wasn't just to our asses. I think it was to our whole fucking body because, damn. And piggybacking what others have said, since Ray left, we haven't had a leader on the team. Rowe is no leader. He's no Ray. He can give his first snap, last snap speech all that he wants. That shit's dry. Right now it's dry. It doesn't impact. It doesn't make any difference right now. Get another speech, man. Like, I know you're a heck of a player, but speeches, I mean, come on. There's people for it. They can prepare you one for every Sunday. Yeah, and I don't know who's holding John Harbaugh accountable because CDC is very big buddies with him. I don't see Bisciotti calling, to say, hey, either you get in line or kick the bucket, because and that's where we're at. It's like, who's holding John Harbaugh accountable for all these losses, for the waste of talent that we had after winning the Super Bowl? Because we had, if I recall, we had three teams. We had 2014, we had 2016, and we had you could say 2018, but that was because Lamar entered and you didn't know how to use him properly against the Chargers. But still, like, you had to have a plan, at least in contingency, if that was the case, if Flacco went down, So just like Stephen A. Smith say.
Let me keep the guest lines going, brother. All right. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Talk to you soon. Thanks, Manny. Look, this is where, Dre, we're coming to you in a second here. This is where I got to push back a little bit. I've heard it a couple times now when it comes to critiquing Roquan's leadership or lack thereof. This, to me, is where it gets a little bit spoiled. It comes across as a little bit spoiled. Ray Lewis is irreplaceable. Do we agree? This organization may end up having to wait a decade plus to try and replace what they lost in Ray Lewis. When you call out Roquan Smith's leadership or lack thereof and call him a yapper, like I've seen in the live chat, to me, that comes across as spoiled. We don't truly know what Roquan Smith's leadership is outside of the Jumbotron pregame and postgame shots and some of what he graced us with a couple years ago inside the vault with his one-liners and pressure bursting one-liners and throw it out on the pavement, doesn't matter where it is, and cats and the way he pronounces excited and all of this stuff. We don't know what that truly consists of. And so that's where I have to kind of stop and just say to myself, wait a second here. What is it that, how are you viewing leadership at this point in this Ravens tenure? Because trying to replace Ray Lewis, this is not going to happen. Same thing could be said for Terrell Suggs, whether it be his impact and or what he brought to the field. They've been searching and praying to either hit on somebody in the draft or acquire somebody that can be their Terrell Suggs. Haven't found it. And quite frankly, they haven't found it, obviously, trying to replace Ray. You're trying to replace all-time greats. And so I think where I have a little bit of pushback and take issue with some of these commentaries is that's what sometimes can come across a little bit narrow-minded. That when you're trying to compare Roquan Smith to Ray Lewis, it feels disingenuous. Does that make sense? I want to get Dre Dog's thoughts on this. Again, Kyle Hamilton has called some of the Ravens fans spoiled today. He took a passionate defense of Zach Orr. We've got injury reports to go around. No Nnamdi Madubuike this weekend. No Kyle Van Noy likely, in all likelihood. Broderick Washington may be down. Let's have a conversation, Dre. Great to see you, brother. What's on your mind today, my man? It's been a minute.
What up? What up, baby? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So as far as the Kyle Hamilton saying that the fans are spoiled, we got to understand that this is a culture from the head coach down. Think about the statements that John Harbaugh has made about the fans being the guy sitting at the end of the bar. We don't care about the fans sitting at the end of the bar, and the tone deaf nature of it's not a Super Bowl or bust year. This is a culture. Even with Zach Orr saying Oh, I didn't even know until you mentioned those stats. I didn't know. How don't you know that you're the worst defense in the league? Like, that is not something that when we as fans openly criticize, we're being spoiled about. Your quarterback got sacked 7 times. 3 or 4 of those was probably his fault for holding on to the ball too long. Fine. But your defense got none. You got a goose egg on the other end. So when we're saying these things, it's not like we're saying it from a standpoint that, you know, we are whining. We're just, for the most part, I see a lot of in this Ravens community. I mean, Bobby, you guys have these guys on your channels, your individual channel and the Vault channel, breaking down how historically bad we are. You know, so those things are not us whining or being people at the end of the bar that don't matter. As fans, we're the ones that fill the seats. As fans, we're the one that pay for the concessions. As fans, we're the ones, some of us have to save up money just to be able to enter into the castle. Oh, I'm sorry, the vault or the bank. I'm sorry. Like, we're investing our time, our money, our energy. And just because we're calling out what's true, I don't think Kyle took the right approach to go at the fans, but I am not surprised because he's echoing the sentiments of his head coach, Zach Orr, and even Lamar. We don't worry about any of the outside noise. There's an element of disillusion, a disillusioned mindset when you say, I'm going to ignore everything, whether it's fact, fiction, truth, false. I'm going to ignore all that. And I'm just going to go on to my own understanding. Christians don't even rock like that. Lean on to you lean on the understanding that you can't even comprehend, which is God, right? So it's like, to criticize the fans in a moment like that when you're the worst defense after you just became the highest paid safety because of the fans that put the money into that organization to make you the highest paid, that was just, you know, and like Manny said, I mean, Kyle's still a young man, right? I know for sure I put my foot in my mouth plenty of times when I was in my middle 20s. So I'm sure that Kyle probably's like, shit, maybe it didn't come off right. And like you said, I think he'll make it right. But he's echoing the sentiment of the head coach.
Hey, Dre, let's cut to those comments just in case folks haven't caught these yet. This is Kyle Hamilton in a media scrum earlier today, courtesy of Jamison Hensley, talking about the overall state of this Ravens defense through 3 weeks.
I don't think it's whatever criticism he's getting. I don't know. I feel like sometimes Ravens fans can be a little spoiled, just like the amount of success that this franchise has had. You know, we lose 5 games and the world's about to end. I think on Zach, it's unfair to put all the blame on him when there's 11 guys out there on the field that are playing their hearts off, and he's put us in the right positions. It's just a matter of us doing the right stuff, and that's where I feel like the critiques of Zach or whatever coaches are unfair because he can't go out there and play for us. And as much as he'd want to, he can't. So it's up to us to go out and get the job done. So it's not a Zach thing. It's not a coaching thing on the defensive side of the ball. It's just players got to get the stuff right.
Dre, I feel like this is a good time to remind everybody the elephant in the room in terms of how I look at this. Remember, I am not a fan. Fandom is just something that I don't have a lot of experience with, so I want to make that clear. Now, I thought you did a great job of detailing why emotions are running high when the spoiled label is attached to, again, just some within the Ravens. Now, he didn't say some. He said they're a little bit spoiled, right? Meaning the fan base. That is generalizing, and I recognize that. And as I said once, as you just alluded to, and I'm sure we will talk about this again, Kyle Hamilton will inevitably, hopefully after a win come Sunday night in his post-game press conference, he will revisit these comments and I'm sure make amends. With all of that said, the one issue I have with some folks in the live chat, and let me make sure I represent what you said correctly, and if not, you let me know.
I got you.
What do you guys want from him when it comes to his defense that he just took? He just took a stand for his second-year defensive coordinator. He did that last year amidst all kinds of noise and personnel issues. What else do you want from him? Take the spoiled comment out if you can. I know that's difficult to overlook, but put that aside for a second. I thought it was what a leader does as not only the highest paid safety in the game, but as somebody that's become a cornerstone piece in this franchise, understands that he wasn't good enough on Monday night, nor were the guys that he suited up alongside. And that's why he took a stand for his defensive coordinator. To me, that is leadership epitomized. Did you have any issue, take the spoiled comment out, with that part of it?
No, I didn't have any issue with that because as a player, the accountability factor is key, right? That is absolute key. But then when you look at players like Marlon and you hear Marlon saying, I don't know what we're doing wrong. I don't know what to do. I don't know what we can do. When you're hearing guys say they don't know, that comes from coaching down, man. That's a systemic problem that your players, even if you say some shit like, all I know is we're going to try our best on when we play against Kansas City, or we're going to get out on that field and give it everything we got. Even if that's your answer. But to hear players say, in multiple players, Kyle Hamilton, I think, had said he wasn't sure. I'm not sure. We just need to, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. We just need to figure it out. Like, no,
Hey,
man.
Dre, let's cut to some Zach Orr video right now because this is a good segue for you. Zach Orr addressing a couple different things earlier today at his press conference, beginning with the run defense.
And of us not doing our job, man. So we got to play better. We got to coach better. It wasn't one particular person, one particular group. It was guys we were misstep or slow step in certain areas on certain plays. And when you go against a good team, and especially good running backs like that, good offensive line, they're going to make you pay. And they did that.
So was it more of a scheme or?
And one more clip as well. Again, this is just specifically from a personal standpoint, how he handles these setbacks so far this year.
First and foremost, every loss, man. Every loss, and every time we don't go out there and we feel like we don't play up to our standards, it's heartbreaking to me. Like I've always, since I was younger, my mom always told me you never take losses well, and I still don't. But I understand now as I get older, you got to move forward. So no, I mean the loss definitely stung Monday night into Tuesday morning. But like I said, it's a week-to-week league. I've been around. I understand that you got to move forward and you got to put that behind you. And as far as blocking out distractions, a lot of stuff that you guys are telling me, I had no idea about because I'm not on social media. I'm just blocked off from all the noise out there, man, and that's good. I think that when you can do that and you don't listen to, you can really focus in on what's important and what you got to get done. Because if you listen to that and you pay attention to that, it can definitely affect you with your job and just in your regular life. So I just block out the noise, man. Focusing on football, that's what we talk about here, and just focusing on getting better.
Look, I know you're stirring over there because he just referenced part of what you've already talked about, and that is this lack of awareness in terms of what's going on out there. I don't think we should put words in his mouth, though, and say, and I'm not saying you are, but this is my thought on it. I don't think we should put words in his mouth as if to assume that he's not aware of some of the deficiencies of his defense. It's abundantly clear. And I can only imagine what's gone on in those meeting rooms over the course of the last 48 to 72 hours. I mean, let's be honest. We're only 10 days or a week removed from the defensive-only dinner meeting. All right, there's been conversations, and I'm sure difficult conversations had. I mean, take a look at where they stack up through 3 weeks defensively. They're the 32nd ranked overall group. They're 30th against the run, as we all know, 31st against the pass, 31st in scoring, 24th on third down, 21st on fourth down, and 28th in the red zone. And while it's only a 3-game sample size, these are all too familiar, Dre. So, again, I just don't want to jump to conclusions and use that soundbite right there just because he's blocking out the noise to assume that he's not aware of their deficiencies. They're damn aware.
Yeah, I can get that. But I think the messaging, and this is why I think a lot of people are calling for Harbaugh's job, because, again, Harbaugh has a trickle-down effect, right? And so I think the messaging of we don't care about what anyone else says. What some coaches around the league, like for example, like a Mike Tomlin, for example, I've heard him on several occasions where he says, yeah, you guys called us out and we deserve to be called out because we played like some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like having that level of accountability has never been a Harbaugh trait. He's the most NFL ready politician if there ever was one. He can dance out of conflict so gracefully, man. It is so graceful how Harbaugh gives you a whole bunch of just fluff. Sometimes they ask him a question and he's not even answering the question. Yeah, well, we're gonna do this, we're gonna try this, we're gonna do this, if that's not a politician up there, so I get that part of it, but at some point, as the fans, you gotta take the accountability to the next level. Hey, the criticism that you guys have been giving us, whether I see it on social media or I hear whispers about it, it is correct. We're the 32nd ranked defense in this league after 3 weeks. We deserve that criticism, but we are damn sure going to do everything in our power to not be 32. Like, not be 32. Hashtag no 32. That's what we want. Hashtag no 32.
Dre, you're the man. It's great catching up with you. We'll do a catch up one of these Fridays or one of these non-busy days on all things non-football. All right.
I'm proud of you, bro.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate you. Catch up soon. Dre Dog, great call. And look, this is a healthy conversation. Didn't expect it to be had so soon into the year, but this is where the Ravens find themselves. And I know a lot of you are running hot as a result, and I'm sure there's a reason why you're running hot. Some of this is absolutely warranted. I do think some of the commentary today has been a little bit hyperbolic for my liking, which is why I've pushed back against some of it. Richard says the problem with Rowe is he writes checks he can't cash. Richard going after Roquan in a sense. Big O writes, as a fan base, we overreact too early, bro. Take a deep breath and let our team fix their issues. By the way, all of this is in caps. That's what the regular season is for. A-Rod voice, relax. Thank you for the super chat, Big O. Richard writes, like they ignore conventional wisdom, trenches is greater than all. You talked about that on the vault. Appreciate the super chat, Richard. Donovan writes, our offensive line might as well be grass. Thanks for the super chat, Donovan. Thanks to all of you. 600 plus concurrents at the moment. Crazy enough, coming up on 90 minutes of content, and I have a walk-in talk at 6:30. Listen to what Steve Spagnuolo says about this upcoming matchup. He's the stud defensive coordinator for Andy Reid and company.
Thing that we always see, a dynamic quarterback with a lot of talent around him and a team that can run the football. They, when they're really good, and they have been all year long, they can dictate the game by being two-dimensional the whole game. And you have to worry about it on every snap. It doesn't matter what the down and distance is. They'll run it when you're supposed to throw it and throw it when you're supposed to run it, and they got guys that can do it.
I'm surprised Detroit was able to sack him a career-high 7 times. Anything you can use in that?
Well, what just stood out to me just watching the game on TV was how relentless Detroit was. The effort that their pass rushers put in, I thought was really, really good, and they found ways to, eventually get them on the ground, which is not easy to do.
Steve Spagnuolo saying a lot of kind words, just like Andy Reid did about Zach Orr and this Ravens defense. Again, a lot of it is coaches speak. This is how it goes. Butter up your opponent and don't do the bullshit that Cleveland did leading into week 2 because they got their asses handed to them, although it was a stellar defensive performance for the most part, at least when it comes to stopping the run. How'd they do through the air, though? Not exactly successful in that effort. Look, none of what I'm about to talk about is going to matter if the Ravens get outmanned in the trenches for the second consecutive week. But DeAndre Hopkins, I think, could be a big factor in this game from a small sample size standpoint. He's not going to be a high volume guy, probably only going to get a handful of snaps. But what he can do in the red zone, what he can do in the 50-50 contested catch winning game, I think has a chance to be a really good crutch for Lamar, both in crunch time and early on getting himself settled into this game in a hostile environment where he's never won. Lamar and the Ravens have never beaten the Chiefs at their place in this Lamar Mahomes era. They've only got one head-to-head win, and you got to go back to September of 2021. D-Hop on just 6 targets this season. has reeled in 5 receptions for 112 yards, 2 touchdown catches. He's drawn 2 DPI penalties and a perfect passer rating for Lamar when targeted at 158.3. Mark Andrews had his breakout game, if you will, last week, or I should say earlier this week against Detroit. He's got to be there for Lamar. He's got a chance to have Isaiah Likely back at his disposal, and you already know that D-Hop will make the most of his slim opportunities. So, again, none of this will matter, though, if the Ravens get manhandled the way they did in the trenches on both sides of the football, and that is the harsh reality coming off of what they did and what they put on tape against the Detroit Lions earlier this week. Guys, I got a walk and talk at 6:30. Really passionate episode here, 90 minutes worth of really good content. I think some good spirited back and forth. Kyle Hamilton with just as much passion as you guys are showing as well. I thought he showed leadership. I do think that he'll probably clarify the spoiled comment in the coming days. And like I said, and I'll say it again, hopefully that comes in the form of a winning post-game press conference at the podium in Kansas City. I will have more coverage coming up tomorrow. I want to say thanks to ProfitX, ProfitX.co for sponsoring this episode. You guys can use code BobbyB at ProfitX.co and get up to $200 in profit cash available to you. Thanks to Steve Loop, father of Tyler, for joining us. And thanks to everyone who called in via the guest lines. Really good conversation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Sarah and I will be live coming up tomorrow. If you haven't already done so, I would love for you to join the Bobby Baltimore Discord server. We're coming up on 1,000 members. It is free to join. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. And as always, I'll drop the link right now, the access link that is, into the live chat so you too can join in. A lot of commentary in here, a lot of chatter, of course, today. We've got 948 members. Who's going to become member number 950? Would love for you guys to get in there. Again, it is free. It's a 24/7 hub for conversation surrounding Baltimore sports. Like I mentioned, we talk football, baseball, Maryland athletics across the board, general topics. You get a little love and a shout out when you do join, like Sapphire in the Sky, Shelly, Ruby, Manton, so on and so forth. And you never know what the hell is going down in Bobby After Dark, which has been quiet in recent days. Would love for you guys to join. Thank you for being here. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow. Appreciate you guys as